too legit to quit. Hey, what's up, everybody? Facebook family, this is Steve Melia, and today I am going to be doing my 30 days on having a more successful, impactful, how to design your own life, 30 things that could help. And today's day 21, and what I'm going to talk about today is don't quit, ... unless you should. Or don't quit, ... unless it's time to quit. Because there's some times in life that you have to use your intuition, and there's some things that you're doing, that I do right now, that aren't serving me or serving you. And so you have to know when to quit, and you have to know when not to quit. So today my topic is going to be on quitting, right? And so let's see who's joined us first. I got my sister-in-law, Maureen. Thank you, Maureen. Always a pleasure to spend a few minutes with you. Alejandro. I got Barry, Doug Sams. I see Mary Beth is on as well. And, you know, I look over my own life and I think about quitting. You know, I look back to a few times where things that I regret the most, then it was when I quit my junior high basketball team. And I didn't necessarily quit. I didn't make the initial squad, and they gave me the opportunity to stay on the traveling team and to practice with the team, but not be able to go to the home games and stuff like that. And in that situation, although I was only 12 years old or so at the time, I look back and I let my ego get in the way. I look back and I let the fact that I cared what other people thought about get in the way, and it's a regret that I have, that I didn't just stick it out and do whatever they ask and hit the gym and become a better player. So that's number one. Another time that I quit in similar news was a couple years later. I was trying out in 10th grade for the high school basketball team, and for many of you that know my family, know my brother Jim was the star of that high school team. He was the MVP junior and senior year. And so I look back at that, and I was given the opportunity to again dress out for maybe the home games, but basically the coach offered me the manager position. So there were those that made the team, those that didn't make the team, and then there was me. And Coach Aldridge, I remember when he came and found me in the cafeteria that day, I cried like a baby, not right there, but when I got home. And so, but I wound up quitting because I was more concerned about what other people thought than I was for my love of basketball. So those are a couple times. A few years ago in my business, we were going through some transitions, and I'm not going to go into any detail, but there was a point in my business several years ago where some friends that were mentors of mine quit and left, and I almost quit. And as I look back, the best decision that I ever made in that situation was not to quit. And so there's going to be times where quitting something is a good idea, and there's going to be times where quitting something is not a great idea. And so I'm going to first of all talk about that. If you're following your passion, right? If you're on a journey and you say, this is what I want and this is what I have to do to get there, right? And then and it's a tragedy if you would quit that. That's when you got to learn persistence. That's when you got to learn to hang on. That's when you got to really be able to say, hey, there's ups and downs in anything. And one of the best advice I ever got is never quit during a down, right? Because if there's ups in business and downs in business and ups in business, but maybe if you're having an up in business and you're still looking around and that business isn't for you anymore, or maybe what you signed up for isn't the same anymore, maybe that is a time to quit, right? But if you're following your passion, a reason not to quit is because it's too hard. A reason not to quit, I should say. Two dots. Hope I'm not confusing anybody. Because it's too hard, right? How many times do we sign up for something and it's just it's too hard? It's not what we expected or something like that. In my opinion, that's not a great time to quit. And I'm trying to really talk to everybody, because I know in my business of network marketing is very different than a lot of other industries. And in my business, many times people will quit because something else looks easier, something else looks like a better opportunity, or they hear a story of someone else making more money. And what they don't realize is that the same skills and the same persistence and the same everything that it takes to be successful here, it takes to be successful somewhere else. And so sometimes the newness, the excitement of starting something new is a reason that we quit. So let's see who we join. I got a few other things I want to talk about here today. Hey, Flagler Famous. Flagler, thank you. Kevin, that reminds me, the first day I went to my, what do they call it? When everybody goes the first day and they sort of go over everything, whatever that word is. If anybody knows that, write that in. your orientation. The first day of orientation in college, they said, look to your left and look to your right, because none of those people will be there when we graduate. Only a third of you will graduate. And I was like, and Flagler's not even a bigger school, right? It's, a few hundred students in each class. And they said, but only a third of you will graduate. And I sat there that day and I said, I don't know the person on my left and I don't know the person on my right, but I am going to be somebody that graduates. And I'm proud that I did. I'm proud that I graduated in 4 years. But a lot of times it's good to know right up front. When I first signed up in the direct sales and network marketing business, they said, write down the reasons that you would quit. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I wrote down things like lack of ethics or bad morals by the company or the president, those kind of things, or lying, deceitfulness, or, those are the things. Not because it's too hard, not because I don't want to go out and talk to people or do what I have to do. So let's see who else has joined. We got Vicky, we got Wayne. Thank you. I got Chasten, Gabrielle, Mike Savula. What's up, Mike? Miss your dad. I was talking about him either yesterday or the day before on one of my Facebook lives. Dave, make sure Michael, make sure you watch it. Love your dad. I miss him a lot. Was talking about making new friends a few days ago and how he was just the best, always the best. And so certainly miss my old buddy Dave Savula. His son Mike has joined us on Facebook Live. And I am right down the road from you today, Mike. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. Let me show you guys a little tour. It would be a shame if you didn't get to see this. I've been doing it from Fort Lauderdale last few days. I don't know if you can see the bridge, but there's a little red and white, like candy cane. I don't know if you can really zoom in there. And there's never a great time on Sundays because Sundays is Sunday fun day for me, and I am watching the Giants Dallas game right now. I believe it's 10-10 at the half, and so I was trying to do this right in the middle of halftime. So halftime is almost over, and I won't be much longer. There was another time I had a job, my first job, 2 jobs out of college, right? First one, I didn't really believe, I was selling perfume door to door. And in many ways, I'll be right back, there go my notes. In many ways, sorry my notes flew away. You guys think that's funny, don't you? I sold perfume door to door, and people make fun of me and stuff like that. It was one of the best things that could have happened to me because I learned how to sell, I learned how to take no's, I learned how to have persistence, I learned how to work hard. There was a lot. I was working like 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, so there was a lot that I learned. I felt like, though, that it wasn't my destiny, I looked at people that were in my business 10, 15, 20 years. Actually, there was probably nobody in 20 years. But I looked at people that had been doing it longer than me, and I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I didn't feel like I was being honest with people when I hired them or recruited them in that business. I gave a year commitment when I started, and literally a year to the day, I called up the guy that sort of recruited me and said, listen, I'm done here. And it wasn't easy to get out of. I had a lease on a building. I had about 25 people that worked for me and all this stuff. So that was a hard decision, but one of the best decisions, because if I didn't quit that, I wouldn't have opened up other opportunities for me. So even though the topic today is don't quit, the decision ultimately is up to you, but you got to make a great decision. One of the things I'm trying to say, though, is don't quit when you're depressed. Quit when business is good. And in that particular situation, our sales were up and we were rocking. I had 25, 30 people that were working for me. But again, that was a good decision. Another decision is the next job I had is when I moved to New Jersey. I was living in New Jersey, and I was living with my older sister. And I worked a job that I was a PR entry-level position. I was making $20,000 before taxes. And so I was clearing maybe just a little over, $300 a week. And I was commuting every day into the city. And I just hated it. I hated a lot of things about it. The actual commute itself, and I didn't like. And I wasn't happy. And I was walking the owner of the company's 2 poodles. And many of you know I have a Labradoodle now, but these were 2 very small poodles. And every day, the woman that owned the company, her name was Ellen Zeisler. And I've tried to find her and Google her and look her up and thank her for creating one of the worst working environments anybody could ever work in. And I think it was because I hated that job so much. And I could feel it, that I was able to make it in business. I was able to stick it out and not quit in business because I didn't want to go back to work for somebody else, especially a lady like this. And one day, I'm just on the phone, and she comes into the office, and I was on the phone with my brother-in-law, Steve Hamburger, and she starts yelling at me about It doesn't even matter about something. And maybe because Steve was listening, I was embarrassed, I was insulted. I took it extra personally, and she literally fired me on the spot, and I left. And over the weekend, she tried to rehire me, so it was a question whether I really quit or whether she fired me. But I had so much, I had so much angst in me. My self-esteem was down. At age 23, 24, my vision of what was possible had went down. I just wasn't happy, quite frankly. So there's another situation where quitting was a good idea, okay? The worst decision I see in my business of direct sales and network marketing, where it works great as a part-time business, is that people quit their job too soon, right? And so quitting is, is very subjective as to whatever we're talking about. So when you quit or when you don't quit, make sure that you put the right thought into it. Make sure that you've got your values and your heart into making that decision, right? I've got my nephew, Matt Dunphy. Matt Dunphy is really a hero of mine. I grew up being his nanny, or people make fun of me and saying his manny. But Matt, 3 or 4 years ago, decided to quit drinking, and he was, and he'll tell you he's been, a faithful member of AA for the last couple of years, and I love this guy to death, and I've got so much. I love him to life. I learned that from my buddy Chip Humphrey. Loving somebody to death is not a good idea. I love him to life, and my point is here he had something that really wasn't working for him in his life. It was holding him back in so many ways. It was a very destructive lifestyle, and Matt would tell you if he was here. In fact, if you read my second book, The Last 42, I talk a little bit about Matt and how he overcame some of his challenges. But he hasn't had a drink because he quit drinking and using drugs of any sort November 1st, and it was just, I believe, Matt, it's been 3 years right now. Super proud of him, and that's an example of quitting something that's not serving you. So maybe whatever it is, and I'm not gonna list a few things, but go ahead and right now and comment if you've ever quit something and you're happy for it. So maybe you quit smoking. I quit smoking on February 14th of 1999. Haven't had a cigarette since. That was a great thing. Maybe you quit gambling. Maybe you had a porno addiction. I'm just kidding. Don't write that. Nobody wants to know that, okay? Whatever you quit, write that in, and if you're interested, you don't have to. Don't ever quit. Just get fired up. And then maybe if you want to comment on something that you've quit that you're sorry for. Maybe you quit a business too early. And one of the reasons that I feel like I can talk about this subject, and maybe I'm going back and forth, maybe you think I'm rambling, I'm trying to make as good points as possible and give you the best advice, is in my business life, right after that, the dog walking PR job ended, I became partners with my brother Mike on April 19th of 1994. We've been business partners ever since. So what's that, like 23 and a half years, something like that. We joined our first network marketing company within the year. That company, after 4 years, went out of business, right? Went out of business. We were acquired by another company, so I didn't quit there, right? So from November of 1994 through today, I've been doing the same thing. Now you could say, well, maybe you would have had more opportunities other places. Maybe you could those same skills and made more money. Yeah, too big of a risk for me. Too big of a risk for me. I mean, we've done really well in business, and I see other people that have made it, maybe not quite to my level, but close to it, and they think it's because of them, but it's because of what they have. It's not necessarily because of them, and they go other places and they fall on their face. And I personally wasn't willing to take that big of a risk. So let's see what other people are saying. And quit smoking in 1995. Congratulations. That's awesome. Haven't drank a Coca-Cola in 12 years. I think that's great, Carla. I quit drinking the entire year of 2016. Incredible networking without a drink in your hand, and I love beer. Doug, I quit being told I won't ever be successful. That's good stuff. If anybody else wants to comment on something that they've quit or hasn't quit, hey, Vanessa, nice to see you. Hey, Brad, Mark Smith, what's up? Nick, Aaron, Ann. Who else we got? Guys, we just got a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to end with a special poem that I have for everybody here today. If you just give me a second, I'm just going to pull it up. O-N-G-O-N. I've got my laptop out with me in the water today, and we are doing the show from Charleston, South Carolina, Mount Pleasant, really. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. A little chilly today. Originally I came out in shorts, but thank goodness I brought some jeans and a sweatshirt in case it was cold, and it certainly is cold. I see Lynette. Cooter, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing great. All my comedian mentors from the Myrtle Beach area. Cooter, I hope you're doing awesome. I hope to see you again real soon. But guys, what I'm talking about today is having the intuition and having the experience to follow your heart and knowing when to quit and not when to quit. And if you're following something that you really love to do, you know, and other people are trying to get you to quit, maybe it's time to quit that relationship, you know, because the whole idea of these 30 ways, 30 days for you to follow your dreams and to follow what's true in your heart. And sometimes no one can ever tell you that. No one can tell you what's right or what's wrong. And I've seen comedians that I thought were horrible, and I was like, man, they should quit. And 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, they're hysterical, they're killing it. And you see that really in all walks of life. So I am going to let's see if I've another couple things that I want to add just before I wrap it up is, say you are on the right path, but there's always that tendency to want to quit, or man, this is too hard, or you're getting off track a little bit. Having a workout partner or having workout partners, you know, I have 2 partners in my business, Mike Milia, who's my brother, Kim Milia, my partner. So the 3 of us have that kind of relationship where, you know, even when things are great or things aren't so great, we have each other to discuss with. And there's also something that I call zero-based thinking. I learned this from Brian Tracy. Zero-based thinking basically says whatever your relationships, your businesses, your job, ask yourself this: if you knew today everything about it when you first got started, would you still have made the decision to get started? Like maybe you have a job today that you hate, but you're so far in that you go, ugh. Or maybe you started a business today and the business partner that you have is not the person that you thought it would be, or the person your relationship with doesn't treat you the way that you think that you deserve to be treated, but you're too far in. Guess what? If you're too far in, who cares, right? If you know in your brain, like if I said, here's button A and here's button B, and button A is you're glad that you got in this whatever relationship is, and button B is no, and you know the answer is no, the sooner that you hit it, the better. Don't live another day being in a life that you don't want to be in, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So having a workout partner, having somebody you can talk to on a regular basis, like again, like I'm fortunate because I have 2 business partners, but you know, my brother Mike and I, just as an example, we'll have been business partners for 24 years. 24 years. There's a lot of great times, there's a lot of arguments, there's a lot of wins, there's a lot of losses, there's a lot of fights, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that. But at the end, I look at him, I look at my partner Kim, I look at the company that I'm in, I look at the fact that I'm in network marketing, and I look at all those things and I say, am I happy? If there's any industry that I personally could be in, it would be network marketing, just for knowing everything that I know and the freedom that it creates. Then I look and I say, okay, what company would you be in? And I look, for me, having a strong product, having a rock solid company, having those kind of systems, for me, I would still make that decision. So I'm not quitting. Then I look at my partners. I've got, Kim is one of the most talented women in the industry. My brother's got more wisdom than any business professional in the world. That probably wasn't a good analogy, but that's a good decision. So you say, if I had to do it all over, yes, I'd join this industry. Yes, I'd be in that same company. Yes, I'd have the same business partners. And sometime, give me a like or give me a love if you agree with what I'm saying here today. Benito, nice to see you. Kevin Moss, former New York Yankee. How you doing, Kev? Long time no see. Kevin and I used to do some business back in the day. Kevin, what do you think about the Aaron Boone, man? Maybe it's time to get back in the game. We could use a first base coach, third base coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Moss, New York Yankees, live on Facebook with us. And I am talking today about knowing whether to quit or when not to quit. And again, I look back at some of my life, some of my best decisions are when I quit things, some of my worst decisions are when I quit things like youth sports too early and I let my ego get in the way. But if you're on the right path, having a workout partner, focusing on what's right. I mean, so many people in business, and they are on the right path. They say they want these things, but at the end of the day, they're always bitching, they're always complaining, they're always whining about what's wrong. And even though you're on the right path, if you're always whining about what's wrong and you're not focused on what's right, you know, that's what you need to quit doing. You need to quit whining. You need to quit bitching. Doesn't mean that there aren't things, that there aren't problems, but a leader can be determined by the size of the problem that they can overcome. Fair? And last but not least, as a leader, as somebody that maybe is running a team, like what's important for me is I know in my business, my industry, lots of people quit. You know, they quit because someone says no. They quit because someone says boo. They quit because someone says, is this one of those pyramid things? They quit because it was harder than they thought it was going to be, right? My job is to create an environment, is to create a culture, and I think my family has done a good job of doing that, where people don't want to quit, right? Because this is the learning curve of anything. Maybe you're a professional athlete like Kevin Moss was for the New York Yankees, or maybe you're in network marketing or whatever it is. But if this is success and this is your starting point, there's a learning curve, right? And my job in the beginning of that learning curve is to make this business fun, is to create a culture of encouragement, is to let people know, like, hey, if you put in the work and you put in the time, you can be really successful doing this, and it's worth it, right? But if you don't have a culture where that's true, the first 3 months, the first couple of years, until it takes, remember I talked about yesterday or the day before that it takes about 3 to 5 years. When we talked about it's a numbers game, it takes about 3 to 5 years to be successful. Man, if you're not enjoying it, there's not a good culture in those 3 to 5 years. If you don't believe in the vision of what you're doing, if you're not around people that you like, then you're probably going to quit. So not only do you have to decide when's a good time to quit and when not a good time to quit, as a leader, you want to develop a culture, an environment that makes people not want to quit, right? People want to feel special. People want to feel important. And when you're creating this team, whatever you're doing, it's important that people are enjoying the basics. People are enjoying the process. People are falling in love with the journey. In my second book, my subtitle of my second book, The Last 42, was Enjoy the Journey, right? The Last 42, Enjoy the Journey. And that's what I'm talking about. So hopefully everybody's having a great holiday season. Hopefully I wasn't too all over the place today. I wanted to talk about not quitting, but then I also wanted to back that up with, hey, there is times to quit. You got to know when time to quit and when not time to quit. And again, if you have destructive habits, like you're drinking too much or smoking cigarettes or you don't exercise, stuff like that, it's time to quit those habits and vote for you. Vote for you. That's my point. And so thanks for the shout outs to Flagler College. I'm glad that I made it my 4 years and I was able to graduate. And my pick for today, if anybody's interested in a sports pick, I am going to say take the Eagles. I think it's a pick'em game right now. I'm going to say take the Eagles on the road in Los Angeles against the Rams. It's going to be a shootout, baby. I think it's going to be like 38-35. 38-35, or maybe 35-31, right in there. It's going to be a shootout. So I'm saying take the Eagles on the road. This has been Steve Melia, 30 Ways, 30 Days. Happy Sunday, everybody. God bless, and we'll talk to everybody later. Bye-bye for now.